71 rivers. That's how many waterways in China have already crossed their warning levels. And it is not even peak flood season yet. Right now, as millions of Chinese families are traveling home for the Labor Day holiday, a massive rain system is tearing across the country. Southern China is getting hammered, central China is bracing, and government officials are holding emergency meetings on a holiday weekend, which tells you everything you need to know about how serious this has become. So today, we are going to break down exactly what is happening in China, why it is worse than it looks on the surface, and what this means for the global economy going forward. Because make no mistake, what happens to China's rivers does not stay in China. Let's get into it. Right now, rainfall totals across provinces like Guangxi, Guangdong, Fujian, Zhejiang, Jiangxi, and Hunan are expected to exceed 100 millimeters in a matter of days. In some pockets, forecasts are calling for 150 to 200 millimeters. To put that in perspective, that is roughly the equivalent of 2 months' worth of normal rainfall, dropping in just a few days. And the Yangtze River, China's longest river and the economic spine of the country, is already swelling. The Wuhan city section of the Yangtze is sitting more than 2 meters above normal for this time of year. 2 meters. That is not a small deviation. That is a warning sign that engineers and flood control officials do not take lightly. Water levels on the Yangtze and its tributaries are expected to keep rising over the next week, and the Ministry of Water Resources has already issued a warning that major floods are possible throughout the country from June all the way through August. We are talking about a 3-month window of potential disaster, and we are just at the beginning of it. Now here is something that makes this situation even more complicated, and honestly more alarming. Overall precipitation in China is actually about 10% lower this year compared to last year. So on paper, it sounds like conditions should be more manageable, but that is not how extreme weather works anymore. What scientists are seeing is that rainfall is becoming more concentrated. Instead of rain spreading out steadily over time, it is falling in violent bursts, overwhelming drainage systems, pushing rivers past capacity, and triggering flash floods before communities even have time to respond. The National Meteorological Centre's Deputy Director, Jia Xiaolong, said it plainly at the end of April. Global warming has made China increasingly vulnerable to extreme weather events, not just floods, but heat waves, tornadoes, and deadly storms. And the evidence is stacking up fast. Just last month, an unexpected storm of hail, freezing rain, and brutal wind killed 21 runners during an ultramarathon race in the northwestern province of Gansu. 21 people who showed up for a race and never came home. This month, a tornado struck Wuhan. Another tornado hit the eastern coastal province of Jiangsu, killing 12 people and injuring hundreds more. This is no longer a season of normal weather patterns. China is dealing with a new climate reality, and the infrastructure, the planning, and the response systems are being tested in ways they have never been tested before. Now let's talk about what is at stake economically, because this is where the story gets really significant for the rest of the world. The Yangtze River Basin is not just geography. It is the manufacturing and agricultural heartbeat of China. This region produces a massive share of China's rice, wheat, and food supply. It is home to some of the country's most important industrial zones, and it moves trillions of dollars worth of goods every single year through shipping and trade networks. Last summer, rainfall reached its second highest level since 1961. Flood alerts were triggered across major rivers and lakes. Water levels at the Three Gorges Dam, one of the most critical pieces of flood control infrastructure on the planet, came dangerously close to their maximum capacity. And that was last year, which officials considered a bad year. This year, the season is starting earlier. The rainfall events are more intense, and the warning systems are already screaming. For the whole of last year, nationwide precipitation levels stood at nearly 700 millimeters, more than 10% above the long-term average, and up nearly 8% from the year before that. In some parts of central and northeast China, rainfall literally doubled. That trend is accelerating, not slowing down. So what is the Chinese government actually doing about this? The response has been significant, at least on paper. The Office of the State Flood Control and Drought Relief Headquarters and the Ministry of Emergency Management have been holding joint meetings with meteorological and hydrological departments. They are coordinating with multiple provinces, Guangxi, Hunan, Jiangxi, Anhui, Fujian, and Guizhou, to plan prevention and emergency response measures. Local emergency authorities have been ordered to reinforce responsibilities, strengthen risk checks, and upgrade early warning systems ahead of the holiday travel period. One particularly notable directive: reservoirs with known safety concerns must be kept empty during this period and through the coming rainy season. That is a significant order because it essentially acknowledges that some of China's reservoir infrastructure may not be reliable enough to handle what is coming. That is the kind of quiet admission that does not make headlines, but should. Officials have also warned that flood control conditions during the Labor Day holiday will be, in their own words, complex and challenging. When Chinese government officials use language like that, language that is normally sanitized and optimistic, it signals that the situation on the ground is genuinely serious. Here is the bigger picture that most people are missing. This is not an isolated weather event. This is a pattern, and it is a pattern with compounding consequences. When floods hit the Yangtze Basin, farm yields drop. When farm yields drop, food prices climb, not just in China but globally, because China is one of the world's largest consumers and importers of agricultural products. When manufacturing zones in central and southern China flood, supply chains get disrupted. And when supply chains get disrupted coming out of China, as we all learned during COVID, the effects ripple across every economy on the planet. Add to that the energy angle. The Three Gorges Dam is not just a flood barrier. It is one of the world's largest hydroelectric power generators. If water management at the dam becomes a crisis rather than a routine operation, it affects China's power grid, which then affects industrial output, which then affects exports. We are watching in real time as climate risk becomes economic risk, and most of the financial media is not connecting those dots clearly enough. What happens over the next 3 months in China's river systems will be one of the most important and undercovered economic stories of the year. 71 rivers over warning level, and summer has not even started. The question is not whether China will face major flooding this season. Officials are already saying they expect it. The real questions are: how severe, how widespread, and how well prepared are the systems that are supposed to protect hundreds of millions of people and trillions of dollars in economic activity? We will be watching this closely and bringing you the full picture as it develops. If you found this breakdown useful, hit subscribe. We do not do hot takes here. We track the economic forces that are actually reshaping the world, so you always know what is really going on before it hits the front page. 5.